everybody, it's Monday, October 28th, 2024. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Show presented by Uber Eats. Get game day deals all season long. Me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. We need to sit one out so we can catch our breath a little bit. Fellas, week 8 pretty much in the books. We still have a Monday night game left to be played between the Giants and the Steelers in Pittsburgh. But Florio, you were pointing this out before the show. It's one of those rare weeks where it seems like all three of our teams got to win. I didn't dig back to see. I feel like it has happened at some point this season, but we can definitely all, we were all on the good side of things this week.
Yay.
Yeah, I guess I'm hopeful that it's happened already. Maybe did it happen in week 1 or something like that? I don't know, but we're all feeling good. Marcus, your baseball team, yeah, they've been winning and stuff. So yeah, Laquan, your favorite soccer team fired a guy or something like that. We're all feeling good today.
He's been sacked. We're going to use the cross the pond terms. He's been sacked. Get him out of here, man. We want
That's what they say when someone gets fired?
You get sacked. Yes. Yeah.
I don't think you guys been noticing, for a couple of shows now, I've just been putting soccer terminology out there. It's bottom of the table.
Oh no.
Sack,
I caught it.
You get it. Yeah, you caught it.
I've caught it.
It goes over my head.
Yeah, I definitely. You're not slipping these by me. Sometimes I just choose not to acknowledge it. That's all there is. So that's it. We've got a lot to do on the show today. As always, have our biggest takeaways from what we have seen in week 8. We will dive into the waiver wire, and we will get you some of our hot takes for the second half. Some things that might be a little bit outlandish, but kind of what we're feeling about what we expect to see for the last few weeks of the fantasy regular season. But now let's get started, as we always do, with some fantasy headlines. Starting down in Houston, where Stephon Diggs left the Texans game against the Colts with what looks like a knee injury, was running a route, non-contact, limped off the field. Now, as of us recording this show, we don't have an update on what Diggs' situation is going to be. But I mean, Florio, look, I know Nico Collins hopefully is going to be back soon, but he is still injured right now. Now Stephon Diggs is out. Tank Dell had a touchdown, which is great, but where else can we look to get some help in this Texans passing game?
Yeah, I know we're awaiting further word on Stephon Diggs, but non-contact, and they play on a short week on Thursday. So speculation on my part, I would plan on being without Steph Diggs this week. And if that is the case, it's Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz, I would say, because remember last season when either Nico Collins or Tank Dell missed time and it was only one of them there, then that's when Dalton Schultz really stepped up and got utilized more. This season, the difference is it took 2 injuries to get to that point because they had 2 alpha target hogs. Nico Collins, they're hopeful, can be back in week 10. I think the Texans, with their record, are going to play the long game here. They're not going to rush back, especially after seeing the Jets lose to the Patriots. They're probably thinking we could beat this team without you guys. So, yeah, I think it pushes Dell and Schultz into players that you could get into your starting lineups this week. And obviously, Joe Mixon is the other Texan there that you could start.
Yeah, because Collins was placed on IR, you have to miss at least 4 games. The earliest he can come back is week 10. So they have to get through at least 1 week, theoretically. It looks like without Collins and probably without Diggs. Again, we're still trying to figure out what the official diagnosis is on it. But as you said, Florio, did not look good the way he went down and left the game on Sunday. Meanwhile, Laquan over in Green Bay, Jordan Love suffered a groin injury. He had to leave that game. Malik Willis came in and helped lead the Packers to a win in that one. The early reports that I saw were that they think he could be back by week 10, but they're very doubtful that he's going to be available for the Detroit Lions coming up this week. Big game in the NFC North. Now, we've seen Malik Willis, have some good games, and we saw him early in the season when Jordan Love was hurt. Because of what we saw early in the year, do you still have faith of starting any Packers wide receivers against this Detroit defense?
I think it will honestly just be a headache trying to figure out which wide receiver we could put into the starting lineups. I'm not sure if Malik Willis can really support like a Christian Watson, a Jaden Reed, and a Romeo Doubs all at once, because I think what we saw a little bit when Jordan Love was out is that they moved more into a run-heavy offense. So I think outside of that 51-yard, catch from Jaden Reed last game, there really wasn't much, burst and like really excitement out of Malik Willis that I think that this passing offense is going to be on the same standard was Jordan Love. So I think when you look at the three wide receivers, the three-headed guys here, Dobbs, when you look at Watson, you look at Reed, Jaden Reed seems to be the most safest option. So a lot of Jaden Reed managers out there shouldn't really be panicking with Jordan Love missing time, because Jaden Reed, they're going to get the ball in his hands at all costs. He's going to get rushing attempts. He's going to get screen looks. He's going to get, play deep downfield. Like, he's going to be utilized all over this offense. So you feel really good at the most point that, Jaden Reed does have some upside with Malik Willis.
In the 3 games where Willis has played a significant number of snaps, he has exactly 1 touchdown pass and no interceptions in all 3 of those games. He did play in week 1. He did play in week 1. He had 2 snaps at the very end of the game. That seems like a sort of unfair comparison for him, even that circumstance. News out of Jacksonville. So the Packers played the Jaguars. Some significant news out of Jacksonville, Florio. Christian Kirk has a collarbone injury. He is out for the remainder of the season. And then reports surfacing on Monday morning that Brian Thomas Jr. is dealing with a chest injury, and he could miss anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. I guess the easy answer is that it's Evan Ingram's season. Is there anybody else potentially we should keep an eye on down there in Jacksonville?
Evan Ingram is the big winner, like you said, because last season he went from averaging 7.5 to 10.5 targets per game and averaging 11.5 to over 19 fantasy points per game without Christian Kirk. And I was all ready to say sit him because of a tough matchup this week. Then these injury news came out, and now I'm saying to start him. I think he is the only must-start pass catcher here, but if you're in a deeper league or you're in a pinch with all of these wide receivers being hurt, Gabe Davis is boom or bust. We know that, but with more volume and more just plays kind of running through him a little bit, the chances of him hitting do increase. So I'm not telling you to like run out there, grab Gabe Davis and start him or something like that. But if you're in a pinch, and I have been in a lot of leagues, I think then that is an option you could go. But the real winner is probably the running backs as well, because they're going to run the ball more, and I'm sure they'll dump the ball off more. We even seen Tank Bigsby getting involved as a pass catcher this week.
So this obviously means that Brenton Strange is going to have the big game, because that's just how the season has gone so far this year, which, we'll see how that is. But definitely a big hit for the Jaguars offense and for Trevor Lawrence, for anybody who's trying to start him as well. So I joked about Brenton Strange, but it seems like a good way to get into, I don't know if you heard, guys, yesterday was National Tight Ends Day, and the tight ends had a day. Put together a list of all the guys who scored touchdowns. We see Cade Otton and Kyle Pitts with a couple, but look, no shock Travis Kelce gets in the end zone. It's George Kittle's special day, so of course he was going to have a nice day. 6 catches for 128 and a touchdown. But go down the list. I mean, Adam Troutman got in the end zone. We can all rejoice because Sam Laporta scored a touchdown finally. It took 3 tries. It took a few tries. I got trolled because I thought he had caught it, and it ended up being Brock Wright. And then he got tackled at the 1, and he finally got in. So he scores a touchdown. Mark Andrews stays hot. Evan Ingram with a pair of touchdowns. Conklin, Kincaid, Josh Oliver going back to Thursday night. I mentioned Brock Wright there, who fooled me into thinking it was Sam Laporta. Nate Adkins, his only catch was a touchdown. It was a huge day. 15 tight ends scored a touchdown on National Tight End Day. It was fantastic. If you had a guy, hopefully you had him in your lineup, because it ended up working out pretty well for you on National Tight End Day. All right. It is time now for Fantasy Heroes, presented by Subway. Taking a look at the top scorers for the week. Of course, the Monday night game still to be played, but Jalen Hurts, 35.14 points, a passing touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns doing the job there. James Cook with 28.3 points. Sorry, Hytham Kalani, we told you maybe to not start him because you had 3 other good running backs there, so that's sort of our bad. But 111 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 28 points there. CeeDee Lamb, big game against the 49ers, and right now looks like the only real weapon in the Cowboys offense. 146 yards on 13 catches, 2 touchdowns, nearly a 40-burger for him. Cade Otton is part of National Tight End Day, 9 for 81 and 2 touchdowns. Anders Carlson, 3 made field goals because Kyle Shanahan loves himself a field goal attempt, and 3 PATs, 14 points for the 49ers and the Detroit Lions defense. A sack, 4 takeaways, and a touchdown. Gave up just 14 points against the Titans. That was 16 points there. But if we're going to look around at the rest of the league and maybe go off menu a little bit, Laquan, who was your fantasy hero for the week?
Calvin Ridley, man, showed up and showed out. 143 receiving yards. I mean, season high, obviously, but this is the most productive, offense that we've seen out of the Titans all season long. I mean, season high in total yards, yards per play, rushing yards, etc. So it's good to see that he was able to show up and show out. I know a lot of people might have dropped him, because I might have said that on Twitter, but whatever. We forget things. But but he showed up, man. I feel it really feels though in my home league. I took a shot of him in my flex position because D-Hop is out of the way. So now it looks like this game plan every single week could be getting Calvin Ridley involved very early on. And honestly, he might be a guy that you could play based on matchups because the quarterback is still Mason Rudolph. But I like the Patriots next week. You could throw on them as well. I don't like the Chargers, but weeks 11, 12, and 13, this is like towards playoff time. And I think this is where you could really find the groove where Calvin Ridley can be a weapon into your starting lineups. I mean, these teams that he's going to be seeing later on, they're all averaging 20 fantasy points per game allowed to the position. So I like the matchups for the future for Calvin Ridley.
Said he needed first quarter targets, and you see what he did with them. Florio, you are supporting the guy that you have here on your chest today.
Oh, Jaden Daniels, because the dude is just simply amazing. Look, I put it on Twitter yesterday. He is a lot like Puka Nacua this week. There was clear risk, and I won't lie, there was a play in the first quarter where he got hit, he was on the floor, and I was like, oh man, his day could potentially be over. But I also put out that there was clear upside with Jaden Daniels, and that is what we got. 326 yards, a touchdown, 52 rushing yards, 22.24 fantasy points. And the thing is, what he gives you with his legs is why he is so good for fantasy purposes. Over 20 yards in every single game this season, but it has become routine where he is running for 40 plus yards. That is a free 100 plus passing yards in a fantasy game. And for those of you who are like, oh, he did nothing until this one play. No, he had 16 fantasy points scored before this Hail Mary play in a game against a tough defense where we did not know if or when he would play. He didn't practice for most of the week, and he still went out, and before this play had a safe floor type performance. So I think he is a must start. I think we need to stop doubting him. He is the runaway rookie of the year right now. He is an MVP candidate for fantasy and real life, in my opinion.
Yeah, he really is very much in the mix for all of those things. And in the matchup of 1 versus 2, 2 came out on top, both in play and on the scoreboard as well. For me, it's Cedric Tillman. And we all thought he had some sleeper vibes to him this week. No Amari Cooper in the offense anymore. A change at quarterback with Jameis Winston taking over. And Cedric Tillman had himself an absolute day. And now you're looking at back-to-back solid games for Tillman. You see the 7 catches for 99 and 2 touchdowns. Look, it's not going to be this easy or this productive for the remainder of the season, but it is apparent Cedric Tillman looks like he has surpassed Jerry Jeudy as the number 1 target, at least among wide receivers. I think David Njoku still is going to be a big part of this, but Tillman doing some big things, and he's still out there on some waiver wires. I doubt that's going to be the case after this week. So if he's available, you got to put in that waiver claim for him. I know we'll get to waiver wire a little bit later in the show. He's going to be a very popular ad coming up this week. We'll get to some of our big week. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, what changed? Because the Browns passing attack suddenly very reliable.
That's good, for sure. Who knows?
EWs.
Get to our week 8 takeaways. What did you learn from this past week, Laquan?
Oh, man. Anthony Richardson's on bench row. He should be on bench row until further notice. And what bench row is basically you're on the bench, you're on punishment, and you don't get off until you show some life. You're going to be a zombie collecting dust on my bench, and you will be closer to the door out. And Anthony Richardson just needs to find a way to get in rhythm in games, man. I mean, look, only 1 game so far this season where he's completed more than 10 passes. I mean, only 1 rushing touchdown, which came in week 1, and he's completing less than 45% of his passes. There's not real good here. There's no real good meat here that you want to digest. There is no real good spark coming from him on this offense. So it's like, man, I just feel as though like I'm not waving the white flag on him as a fan of him, but for fantasy, I am completely done.
Yeah, it's been rough for sure. What did you learn from this past week, Florio?
I have to go all the way back to Thursday for mine. And in the past, I've had to tell Laquan, like, you might want earmuffs. I think you want, like, the opposite of that. Turn your volume up or whatever. I think the Rams offense is going to win people fantasy leagues. Let's go back all the way to last season. Remember the first half of the year, Matthew Stafford was putting up yards, but no touchdowns. Cooper Kupp was hurt. Kyron Williams was hurt. Puka Nacua was usable for fantasy purposes, but he was the only one. We have the exact same scenario, just a little different this year. Kyron Williams has been the only one you could start every single week. Stafford has struggled. He put up some yards in some games. The touchdowns haven't been there at all. But now, once this team got healthy in the second half last year, they went on a run. They got hot. They made the playoffs. They played the Ravens better than any offense did last season in the rain in Baltimore. We have that offense back now. When Stafford, Kyron, Puka, and Cooper Kupp are healthy, this Rams offense is elite. It is one of the best in the NFL, and all four of them are healthy now. Now, if any of them get hurt, change everything I'm saying here. But as long as these four stay healthy, this team is going to win people fantasy championships. And hopefully you bought low on these guys or something like that, because I think Stafford is someone you could start moving forward, and the other three are all must starts.
I mean, look, this is kind of where we thought we'd be at the beginning of the season. Injuries sort of derailed that temporarily, but now the band is back together, and the Rams getting a win means I don't think they trade any of those guys because they're still very much in the race in the NFC West. For me, now you heard Laquan talk about Anthony Richardson being on bench row. I'm going to tell you that Bo Nix right now is the fantasy quarterback we thought Anthony Richardson was going to be. He's not a spectacular passer, but he's good enough. And when you combine that with him running the football, because Richardson not running, I think, the way we hoped he would, that is what makes him a guy who is putting him over the top in terms of his fantasy production right now. 4 rushing touchdowns for Bo Nix so far this season. Over the last 4 weeks, he is the QB3, the third highest scoring quarterback over the last month, and in large part because he is running the football. Yeah, I don't care that he's had good matchups. That's what we want. If he was failing in these good matchups, then we'd be upset with him. But he is getting it done against some bad defenses. Took advantage of the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. And right now, he is that guy. And look, I admit, I sort of mocked Bo Nix at the start of the season. I am apologizing. I was wrong. He's playing some really good football, and he is a real, true fantasy asset right now. All right, we still got plenty to go here on this show. We're going to get to the waiver wire coming up in just a bit. Stick around for more of the NFL Fantasy Football Show. Time for Waiver Wire, presented by YouTube TV. Week 9 free agents. Florio, go.
Just spoke about Matthew Stafford. You need to add him. Justin Herbert, not only passing better, running more as well. So take note of that. Jameis Winston, because he is the best quarterback on the Browns and put up some fantasy numbers. Alexander Mattison had a real rough week, but it was about the matchup. Still getting all the volume there, so he is in play. Ray Davis, these are all handcuffs because it was not a big week of running backs. So Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Jaleel McLaughlin, Blake Corum, Tyler Algier, Roshan Johnson, all guys that are an injury away from becoming players that you just get into your lineup each and every week. And then pass catchers, Cedric Tillman obviously needs to be picked up right now. Ricky Pearsall looked really good on Sunday Night Football. Jalen McMillan had the most targets of Bucs receivers. Xavier Legette not only played well, but there's a lot of reports that Deontay Johnson could get traded. Rashad Bateman probably wants a redo on yesterday, but the volume still keeps him in play. And then more Browns receivers, Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. The first, third, and fifth most yards by a Browns pass catcher came in yesterday's game for the season. And then Hunter Henry, Cade Otton, and Dalton Schultz, some tight ends, because everyone needs a tight end unless it's National Tight End Day, and then every tight end goes off.
Yeah, pretty much. Cade Otton, fantastic. I mean, look, Laquan, we look at this, Mike Evans out for a while. Chris Godwin gone for the season. Yeah, I mean, I know we sort of want Jalen McMillan to be a thing, but it does feel like Cade Otton is the guy until further notice in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he's the most comfortable in the system, and he's good at football. Like, this isn't just some random tight end scoring touchdowns or making plays. Like, this is a guy that's been working his butt off these last 2 seasons, trying to find his way and fit into this Tampa Bay's offense. And he's been such a huge fantasy gem for a lot of fantasy managers like myself, coming off the waiver wire and putting up elite tight end 1 numbers. He's getting the volume, and he's producing every week. So I definitely think for the rest of the season, Cade Otton shouldn't be questioned or not if if he's going to be in your starting lineup or not. You should not be benching him for the rest of the season because Baker Mayfield is going to need that security blanket because there's times where he gets wild and gets crazy, and those are when the interceptions happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But K-Dot has been fantastic. All right, so now we got the second half of the fantasy regular season on tap as we head toward week 9. We got some hot takes for what we think is going to happen for the remainder of the season. Laquan, we'll stay with you. What is your hot take for the next few weeks?
We're going to stay in Denver, man. Bo Nix is going to finish as a top 5 fantasy quarterback. And I'm saying that just based on the rushing upside and his ability that he has shown to go out there and put out points. He's currently the QB8. So it's not that crazy, but the hot take, man, this schedule is going to get harder. These matchups are going to get more difficult, but Bo Nix has been a rushing storm that you have to worry about getting out of that pocket to extend the plays.
Yeah, Bo Nix, fantastic. Like I'm starting to buy in. Adam Rank was on him early.
I sort of laughed, man.
I was sort of laughed, but I'm in. I'm a believer now for sure. Floria, you got some running back heat you got right now.
Look, James Conner was my biggest running back target coming into the year, and I am not changing course or anything. I think James Conner is going to be the running back that we look back after the season and we're like, he won people the most championships. He was the league winner because he is so guaranteed for safe volume each and every week. Routinely is putting up 18 plus carries and getting used as a pass catcher. But now look at this schedule. He gets the Bears this week. That is tough. Maybe this is the week you try to go out and acquire James Conner. Then he gets the Jets, who we know can be ran on. Then the Seahawks, the Vikings are okay. The Seahawks, again, Seattle has been ran all over this year. And then in the fantasy playoffs, the Patriots, who we know can be ran on, the Panthers, who are the best matchup for a running back, and then the Rams, who, again, we know can be ran on. So the schedule opens up so much. It has been tough up until this point, and Conner has still been productive. But now it opens up, and as long as he stays healthy, fingers crossed that he does, I think he is going to run wild in the second half.
Would absolutely love it. James Conner is one of those guys that sort of, I won't say gets overlooked, but I think he sort of gets underdrafted a little bit because we want other guys who maybe seem more explosive or sexier names. And James Conner doesn't really fit into that a whole lot. And so I think sometimes he kind of slips through the cracks, but continues to be productive. And now he's actually staying healthy. He's staying on the field. That's a big key to his success.
Say it. Don't mention it. Stop.
I mean, it's already out there now. It's already in the atmosphere now. I already put that evil on you, Ricky Bobby. It's too late. There it is. Well, let's go back to the quarterbacks here because my hot take is that Russell Wilson is going to be a top 12 quarterback for the remainder of the season. It's not going to be pretty. There are going to be some rough weeks there with Russ, but the schedule really looks nice for the Pittsburgh Steelers down the stretch. They have some really positive matchups, and he is elevating all the other pass catchers around him. We already kind of knew what George Pickens was, and Pickens was finding a way to be productive, even with Justin Fields on the field right there. But now I think Russ is going to throw a little bit of a nicer deep ball. He's not going to look to run as much, which means he's going to get the ball out. He's going to deliver it. And you're just going to see an elevation in the Steelers passing game for the rest of the season. And so it's not going to be exciting. This is not the Russell Wilson that we saw all those years in Seattle, but I think he's going to be a quality sort of steady guy. If you're looking to stream quarterbacks, I think Russell Wilson is going to be a nice matchup-based play for you for good stretches of the year. You're going to be surprised that in the back half of the season, you're going to look around and say, man, Russell Wilson's kind of a fringe QB1, not something that I was expecting this year. That's a thing that we love. Time now, though, for Moments That We Love, presented by Barefoot Wine. And we are loving the fact that a change in quarterbacks in Cleveland has elevated a lot of the Browns pass catchers, but also we just love listening to the guy who has taken over as the quarterback for the Browns.
It's a white boy from Detroit that I really admire named Eminem. He said, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime. And I know I got a quote, Eminem, he from Detroit, he right up the road, but man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that the Lord provided me with this opportunity. I'm grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and these amazing fans.
Oh, Jameis, dropping some Marshall Mathers there in the post-game press. Yeah, look, while we were joking before the show, we had like 3 different Jameis quotes to pick from in this one.
Yes. Like, oh my God, how he just starts off, white boy up the street from Detroit. Like, come on, brother.
Man. Jameis.
As an Eminem and Jameis fan, This was worlds colliding for me. Look,
Yes.
look, Jameis, you botched the lyrics a little bit, but I still loved it.
Oh man, absolutely. Next, you got to get him some Mac Miller. Maybe when they play the Steelers or something. If they play the Steelers again, right? He can drop some.
If
Mac
he quoted
Miller
Mac Miller, I'd buy his jersey immediately.
There it is, Jameis. The gauntlet has been thrown down, but absolutely a moment that we loved from this past week. In the meantime, that is it. We are done. We appreciate you hanging out with the NFL Fantasy Football Show presented by Uber Eats. You know the drill. Tell two friends to tell two friends. Rate, review, and remember, laziness is nothing more than the habit of resting before you get tired. Be safe, take care of yourselves, and we will talk to you tomorrow.